Welcome to FUTube, where you get to say FU to tubes. Really? Julia has a big FU for these new tubes of Pringles, which have become smaller.
Are you sure?
Yes. Now they have also become cheaper, at least for the moment. But if you look at the unit prices, they've actually become more expensive. So FU, tube. Now it's not just Pringles that are shrinking, as the students of Santa Maria College have shown.
This is now the size of a normal caramello koala.
The basic Freddo Frog used to be 20 grams, but 2 years later it changed to 15 grams, and now it is only just 12 grams.
This is disgusting, and it is cheating us out of our money. This should be changed immediately.
Even the Consumer Affairs reporters are getting smaller. Now Peter also spotted that a Leggo's pasta sauce jar is now 75 grams lighter.
Oh my God!
But the sneakiest loss we've come across so far is from Swiss chocolate maker Toblerone. Now this box of Toblerone used to be 400 grams, but now the same box is only 360 grams. According to Martine, Toblerone has increased the size of the valleys, the distance between the two peaks. So Toblerone has literally moved mountains to give you less chocolate. If your shopping's feeling lighter but staying the same price, send us in a photo before things get out of hand.
Dad, can I have a Freddo Frog?
Okay, only one though. Don't want to spoil your dinner.
Judging by our inbox, many of you are annoyed by credit card fees for international transactions. Now, a lot of us are used to being charged fees when we buy things overseas on our cards. It's like going on holiday and tipping your bank manager 3%. We also pay these fees when we buy things on foreign websites. But what you may not know is even when you buy things on an Australian website, in Australian dollars, you can still be charged an overseas transaction fee if the company processes your payment overseas. As Ian found out.
I pay an annual subscription to Ancestry.com.au.
Obviously you missed this story.
Tonight, Kirsten subscribes to Ancestry. Her research uncovers a rich tapestry of pitfalls with using an expensive commercial ancestry service.
I was surprised to see my credit card statement showed the bank had charged a 3% international transaction fee for using an international merchant.
Even though the site is ancestry.com.au, the prices are quoted in Australian dollars, there's a map of Australia and customers are encouraged to discover their convict heritage. Sounds as Australian as whatever the hell this was.
Rigid, sheer sweat, kangaroos kick up.
When Ian complained, they told him,
The Ancestry.com.au processed my payment in Ireland.
well, at least he got to find out someone's ancestry.
I've just discovered Irish heritage.
For our family.
No, for Ancestry.com.au.
Ancestry told Ian to speak to his bank because they're the ones who charge the fee. But his bank told us if someone isn't sure where the payment's being processed, they should speak to the business. It's a classic catch-22, which you can buy at Amazon.com, but you will be charged a foreign transaction fee. Now on Amazon.com, you're unlikely to think that you're dealing with an Australian company, but that's not the case with Ancestry.com.au, which is why we think the Ancestry.com.au site is misleading, because a reasonable consumer would assume they're dealing with an Australian company. Ancestry says the fact that it's an overseas company is disclosed in its terms and conditions. But just because you're based overseas doesn't mean you can't process payments in Australia. And as a not-so-great man once said,
It comes down to the overall impression created by the ad. That's why sellers can't just contradict their big main claims in the fine print.
Ancestry.com.au and any business that looks local but uses an offshore payment system should tell customers clearly that the transaction may incur a fee before the payment's processed. And if they don't do that, they should compensate customers for their loss, like group buying site Groupon did before they started processing payments in Australia. As for the banks, they do disclose the fee in their fine print. Although Choice found the fees are higher than the cost to the bank, and that New Zealanders don't pay them, even though we pretty much have the same banks. No wonder they're so happy over there. While Australians have to give our banks 3% of our international purchases and take them on 3% of our holidays.
You must be an Australian.
How could you tell? And if you're worried about these fees, remember, a .com.au address doesn't mean you won't be charged, and neither does paying in Australian dollars. Commonwealth Bank has a list of sites where the company processes payments overseas. And if you really want to be sure you'll never pay them again, do what Ian did.
I now avoid these bank fees by swapping from a big bank card to a 28-degree MasterCard for international purchases.
There are a few cards that don't charge international transaction fees for online purchases or transactions overseas. That way, there'll be one less surprise when you sign up to Ancestry.com.au.
I've discovered our heritage.
Are we convicts?
No, we're cousins.
Good night.